to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always, Mr. Blake Harrison. How are you?
Very good, sir. Very good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm just getting ready to go on holiday, so I'm just sort of tidying up some loose ends and looking forward to getting this one done and ASAP. I think we're going to take next week off, aren't we? Because I'm away.
Next week is off. Next week is off.
So
you've abandoned me. You've abandoned the fans.
I have.
You've abandoned MMA.
Sorry.
You're going on holiday with your wife.
Oh, no.
But we'll be back for, I'm assuming, the preview to UFC 310, which has had some shifting around going with it. Ian Gary now fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov because Bilal Muhammad got severe gout in his toe. And it's not really, it's actually quite a serious bone infection, I think. But did you see the picture of the toe?
Yeah.
It looks horrible.
Yeah, that's not good.
Absolutely disgusting. So Ian Gary against Rakhmonov. No title on the line for that, but obviously the main event is now, or sort of still in a sense, Pantoja versus Asakura, which is going to be really interesting because Asakura, not fought in the UFC before, but obviously a big deal in other organizations. The real hardcore MMA fans know much more about him than I do. But he's come in and he's going to have to try and sell a pay-per-view as his first thing, which, you know, that's quite a big undertaking. And flyweights historically don't really sell that well. So be interesting to see how that pay-per-view does. But Ian Gary Rakhmonov is a absolutely cracking fight that I am really excited about.
And I mean, we won't get into it too much. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the lead up to that fight. But if what Shavkat says is true, they asked a hell of a lot of fighters before they asked Ian Gary, and apparently everyone was like, nah. And I get it, but fair play to Ian Gary. And you know, he knows if gets the win there, he's knocking on the door, getting that title shot.
And there's narratives out there about Ian Gary that I don't want to get into too much, particularly involving like his wife and all that stuff. And I'm not a big fan of those narratives. I think that kind of stuff you don't need to be speaking about all that stuff on social media and stuff. Let's stick to the fighting aspect of it. And like, it's not like he's necessarily done a lot of stuff. It seems to be a lot of people making comments about him and his relationship and all that stuff. But the one thing he's done there is he's seen the boogeyman of the division, who people think is the best welterweight in the world right now. And he's gone, short notice, yeah, no problem. I was training for someone else, I'll train for him, no problem. Like, credit to him, big old balls on him, big old Irish balls on him. And he's doing the thing, doing well and going out there. And we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, if he gets a win over Shavkat, Jesus, that would be quite something to shut the haters up, wouldn't it? But you can't knock him.
Just the Ian Gary haters. I mean, we've had Ian on twice, and we've also met and hung out with Ian when he won his strap in Cage Warriors, and we met Layla and hung out with Layla, and absolutely lovely people. And don't believe everything you read online, because I found them to be absolutely lovely.
Well, shall we move on to what we've come here to talk about? UFC 309, Jones versus Stipe. We did have to pay 20 quid for this if you were a British MMA fan. You know, TNT Sports stuck this on the box office. Oh, Stu Whiffin. Do tell me more. What did you do?
And I'd love to tell you that I clicked one of the links that some of the listeners have been sending me to get illegal streams, but I didn't. So I've got Sky.
Have you genuinely been getting that?
Yeah.
I've not had any of that. No one's been sending me dodgy links. Well, fucking Harrison, he can fucking sort himself out, mate. You pay your 20 quid, son.
Yeah.
You're a man of the people, Stu. Go on, here's your dodgy link, mate.
Look at me. I've got a dodgy old telly behind me on my screenshot. You got a fucking BAFTA, mate. You can afford that 20 quid. Fuck's sake. So I've got Sky. I've recently moved from Virgin to Sky when I moved house, and so I've discovered Discovery Plus.
Oh yeah,
and I've obviously got TNT Sports as an add-on. Now, I really struggle because have you got Sky?
No, I've got like BT, TNT, all that stuff.
So there's an issue, right? There's not a thing on Sky where I can just go pay-per-view, bang, buy it, which I had on Virgin. And on TNT Sport, I couldn't find anywhere on there to get it. So I then went on the Discovery Plus app and I bought it. And then when I went back on my telly and tried to watch it, I couldn't find it anywhere, searching for it, every single thing. Couldn't find anything that was pay-per-views, purchases, or anything anywhere. So I was like, fuck's sake. And I went to work and then I got in from the club and I thought I wanted to watch it when I got in. And I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it anywhere. I was Googling like whereabouts it is. And in the end, it was like, oh, you can watch it on Prime. So I then went on my Amazon Prime app and bought it again, right? So I spent 40 quid now, right? Because I thought we're doing this show. I need to make sure I can watch it because obviously last time at 3:08, I had a nightmare. So I get in from the club and I watch a little bit of it. And I was just too tired. And so I was like, right, pause it and I'll go to bed and I'll watch it in the morning. Got up in the morning, went downstairs, went on Amazon Prime, clicked it, wouldn't play. This has ended, wouldn't let me play it. And I'm like, are you absolutely fucking kidding me? I can't watch it again. So I watched this event, the main fights that we're going to talk about today, on my Discovery Plus app on my phone in bed yesterday morning. I watched it on my fucking telephone for 40 quid. I mean, I know that there's probably listeners going, you fucking mug. All you needed to do was press that, and it's there. Please tell me what it is. Those people, no, not the ones that send me the links. No, actually send me them links again. Like,
well, the UFC owes you money now for having to pay for it twice. So
no.
I think you're allowed a dodgy link if you want.
Exactly. So yeah, did you get up?
I bought it on TNT. It was very simple. I just went to the box office channel, pressed buy it, put in my code, and it was done.
Yeah.
And then I recorded it and woke up in the morning to watch it. My brother was around. My brother is a huge Jon Jones fan. Huge. We differ in so many ways. Yeah, so he came over and slept over and we could both get up early and watched it around like 6 a.m. or whatever it was.
Oh, that's really cute. I'm picturing you and Dane in your matching gym jams, just sitting there with both of your bowls of cereal, just watching it.
We slept top and tail in a single bed.
And it's Sunday, it's bath night as well.
Hey! Yes. So we watched that. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There's the stingy part of me that did think to myself, I don't want to pay 20 quid for this. Like I saw it on paper and was like, not really interested in the main event. I was interested in the co-main event. I thought that'd be really fun. And then there was a few other fights. I was like, I'm not overly bothered. So I if I didn't have this podcast, I don't think I would have paid 20 quid for it. And I think I would have just found out the results the next day. I hope he doesn't mind us saying this, but good friend of the show, Scroobius Pip, put on the group that it was the first card in a long time that he just didn't bother watching. And he just found out the results the next day as well. So I wonder if there's a few people out there that are kind of like, I was not going to pay 20 quid for this. One thing I did do to kind of...
Have we not been doing this show today? I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I feel like we still have an obligation to each other and to the fans.
Yeah.
To the dozens and dozens of fans that that listen to this show. We had an obligation for you to pay our hard-earned 20 quid and watch this. But I have to say, I did sort of justify it to myself by saying they gave us UFC 300 for free.
Yeah.
And I probably would have paid 50 quid for that and been perfectly happy with them taking my money. That card was unreal. So in my head, I kind of think, let's just say I've paid 20 quid for UFC 300. Nothing to do with 309. So, yeah, and after paying, I mean, you obviously are furious with paying 40 quid to watch it on your phone. After paying the 20 quid and after watching the card, didn't feel much better about it in terms of specifically paying for UFC 309. Let's start with what everyone would want to talk about, I guess. Jones Stipe. I mean, did this fight go any differently to how we've been talking about this going for the last year and a half, 2 years that it's been booked?
I will be honest and say that I didn't think Stipe was going to be that laboured and flat-footed. I thought, but in the weeks leading up to it, we didn't see a lot of him until pretty much fight week. And then obviously he had media obligations, and I was just watching him, and I don't know. I just thought, he looked old, and I thought he just didn't have a lot of zip about him in any. I know he's not the most charismatic of, he's not a trash talker and he's not a big hype man. He's a, he's a wonderful human being. We all know what he does, and he's very much, a man of the people. But I just thought, the more I was seeing of him, the more I was thinking he's signing off here with a nice payday. And I, well, when we talk about what happened, it wasn't much competition, I didn't think.
That's the thing. I think two things can be equally true at the same time. On one hand, I felt Jon Jones looked really good. I thought Jon Jones, the way he threw him down in that first round, got on top and was vicious with the ground and pound. How Stipe didn't get up much earlier, I don't know. And then some of the striking looked good. He picked him apart. The finishing spinning back kick was beautiful. Jon Jones looked good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Stipe Miocic looked bad. I'm going to try and pull it up.
Do you think
the heavy.
Jones made Stipe look bad, or do you think Stipe made Jones look good?
I think probably a bit of both.
I definitely think Stipe made Jones look good.
Maybe. I do think Stipe looked like what we expected. He looked like a 42-year-old man who hadn't won a fight in 4 years. The last time he fought someone, he got knocked out. So he's going in there thinking, last fight I did, I got knocked out. I haven't fought in 3.5 years, whatever it's been. He hasn't got a single win or a fight, as we mentioned in the previous show. Stipe Miocic does not have a fight against a UFC heavyweight. All of the people he's fought have left the organization or retired. Now, you can throw Francis Ngannou in there, which makes sense because Ngannou could still be the best heavyweight on the planet. There's an argument for it. And so you can throw in the win he had against Ngannou, which was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it might have been. But then the loss against Ngannou, he never should have been in there. Yes, he can still, and again, this isn't disrespectful to Stipe. Stipe Miocic, at one point in his late 30s, Stipe Miocic, most accomplished UFC heavyweight, great guy, but also great fighter. 38-year-old Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones, much more compelling and interesting fight. I don't know that the result would have been any different because I think Jones is one of, if not the greatest to ever do it. But in terms of this fight right now in 2024, it's done very little for me. I mean, let's just list off the heavyweight rankings right now. And you tell me when I say a name that you think Stipe Miocic beats. Jon Jones, obviously not. Tom Aspinall.
No.
Cyril Gane.
No.
Alexander Volkov.
No.
Sergey Pavlovich.
No.
Curtis Blades.
No.
Jailton Almeida.
Possibly.
Sergey Spivak.
Possibly. No, I think...
Right. So basically what you're saying to me is there's a possibility of 42-year-old Stipe Miocic beating people in the top 10, you highly doubt he will beat anyone in the top 5.
After what I saw on the weekend, yeah.
Yeah. 42-year-old Stipe Miocic versus Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall, and obviously John Jones. He doesn't get the job done. And I don't even know that those fights are particularly competitive. And I think that's a reality that we are in. I think that's fair to say. Some people might go, oh, but Cyril Gane and wrestling, he was so slow and laboured. He's not going to be able to shoot on Gane quick enough. Gane moves really well. Like, I think Gane pieces up Stipe Miocic. Jailton Almeida is small, but then Stipe's not the biggest heavyweight. I really think Stipe would struggle with a lot of the heavyweight division right now.
John Jones on Saturday was a very much leaner John Jones than what I think we saw against Cyril Gane. I thought he definitely tailored himself more to sort of Stipe's physique, I think.
Yeah.
I know Stipe come in at his heaviest as well, though, didn't he?
Did he? Well, but again, Stipe's not a big guy. Stipe's usually 230-something. Jones came in at 230-something. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's, as I said, two things could be good. John Jones did look good. Like, I looked at that John Jones and I went, I want to see you fight Tom Aspinall. Not because I want Tom Aspinall to beat you and we all go, yay, the big bad John Jones is gone and yeah, yay, Tom. It's not for that reason.
Oh, it is for me.
It's for... Fair enough. For me, as much as I would like to see Tom beat John, I'd like to see anyone beat John, because I'm, as a personal, like the stuff that's come out about him personally, I'm not a fan of it. And he can stand there and quote the Bible and talk about how he's proud of being an American Christian champion and do the Trump dance, whatever that was, and all that stuff.
God,
like he can say all these gimmicks about pro-America this, Christian that, and all this Jesus stuff. But his actions, historically, do not match up with that version of John Jones that we see at these moments when all the cameras and the lights are shining on him. And I will be incredibly surprised. I'll be glad, but I'll be incredibly surprised if we don't see John Jones in trouble again at some point in his life.
Well,
Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see anyone in his family getting hurt. I don't want to see police officers being abused or assaulted or whatever it is. I don't want to see any of that stuff. I don't want to see accusations come out about John Jones. But they happen. And they happen because of him, not because of anyone else. It's not the devil. It's not the demons in his head. It's John Jones.
yeah.
And I just, I don't see situations where that's not going to happen again. But I really hope that things have changed and that he is the person that he's showing to the cameras, this new, humble guy. But I think actions speak louder than words, and let's see where we are in 5 years' time and if we've had any other controversies. But
Well, look,
anyway,
let's see where we're at next year then, because Stipe was on the mic, Rogan gave him the sort of honorary sort of interview after he spoke to John Jones, and Stipe as good as said, yeah, I'm done. Felt a little sorry for him. I felt a little sorry that he didn't really get much of a goodbye, but I think,
I think that's Stipe, though. I think Stipe's not interested. Stipe's never been, as you said, he's never been someone that seems to really enjoy his time with the media or anything like that. He's just like, Stipe is a proper, as the Americans would call it, like a blue collar worker. He's a fireman. It's someone that's just clearly always loved sport. He wanted to be a baseball player when he was younger, all this kind of stuff. He's got a family in Cleveland, in Ohio. And he just seems like you're very, I can't think of a word that sounds like it's diminishing him, but it's not. It's meant to be a compliment, but like a very kind of normal,
humble,
average, normal, humble bloke that just seems to be an excellent fighter and a wonderful bloke for being the firefighter as well, and all these things. So I don't think Stipe is the kind of guy to want a huge fireworks display and a fanfare and to talk on the mic for 3 minutes about what's next for him. He's not Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Even in a loss, Michael Chandler takes time on the mic and is calling out people as if he's won the fight. Stipe's not that guy. Stipe's just like, I'm done. Thanks very much. Thank God. And he even said thank God, and not in a like. I didn't take it as like a let's thank Jesus for a second. I saw it as thank God I never have to fight again.
Yeah.
Fuck me, I hate fighting. I really don't like it.
Yeah.
Thank God I never have to do that again. I'm cashing my nice huge check. Bye-bye. And I think he's going to live a very wonderful life.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's it. Stipe will just go and as Dana said in a press conference, he's got his fireman pension as well to live off of. He's going to go and have a really good life, Stipe. So good luck to him.
So let's look at what's next for Jon Jones. So, all throughout media week, there's been so much attention on Tom Aspinall when the journalist asked Jon Jones about Dana about, is the winner going to fight Tom? And he said yes. And then literally the American crowd started shouting, Tommy, 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 which shows how much people want this fight to happen. Jon Jones seems to just keep batting this chat away. And then we see him post-fight in the post-fight presser going, I don't want to fight these up-and-coming killers. I want to fight I don't want to fight these dangerous up-and-coming fighters. I want to fight, and he made sure he just squeezed in the word dangerous before.
Yes, he did. He really did.
Like
these dangerous established fighters or something like that.
And it was just like, come on, mate. And like,
he knows what you're doing.
He knows what he's doing, and he's doing what the smart businessman would do, which is he wants to fight Pereira. Pereira, it wasn't that long ago Pereira was fighting a middleweight, and we're now going to see whether it's going to happen at heavyweight, obviously. And it's a super, super winnable fight for Jon Jones because of size and because of wrestling. And these things have all been put to Jon Jones, and obviously he realises that Tom Jones, he's a big boy, he's got fantastic hands, he's very...
Tom Jones?
And like,
Tom Jones is a big boy. You said Tom Jones.
I said Tom Jones the other day as well. I did. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is nothing I would like to see more than Jon Jones versus Tom Jones on the green grass next March. That will be amazing. But
walking down to Delilah.
Be incredible. But yeah, like, he's not going to fight Tom Aspinall. That's not going to happen. Did he say like, he can have the belt if it means that much? I don't even need the belts. Don't define me anymore. Blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah. I mean, look, he's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but it's not what a champ would do.
Look, I think so. There's a few things. What Jon Jones has finally come out and said, finally, after tweets and interviews of Tom Aspinall doesn't deserve it. He hasn't earned it yet. And it's like, that's bullshit. You finally come out with what it is. And what it is Tom is a way more dangerous fight for you. You're acknowledging that. And you're saying, if you want me to fight Tom, and this is a quote, I need that fuck you money, which if people don't know what that is, I think that was coined on Joe Rogan, where it's like, you need that kind of money where you can go, I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I'm uncancelable. I can just do whatever I want with the rest of my life. I've got that FU money. That's what Jon Jones said. If he's fighting Tom Aspinall, that's what he needs. And someone else has mentioned that when he was talking to the UFC about the possibility of Ngannou, when Ngannou was being put to him, he said 30 million to fight Francis Ngannou. Surely that price has gone up. So what kind of price does he want for fighting Tom Aspinall? 40 million? More? I don't know. So, and the UFC doesn't pay that kind of money. That's why the Ngannou fight was not made, because Jon Jones took 3 years to come up and at the time, Dana White was in press conferences talking about how amazing Francis Ngannou was and how there's so many different ways that you can avoid a fight, and sort of slightly referencing Jon Jones wanting certain amounts of money. Anthony Joshua money was the quote, stuff like that. So how the tables have turned, and now Francis Ngannou is someone that Dana White will take any opportunity to badmouth, and Jon Jones is the pound for pound best guy on the planet, and we're going to try and make it work and blah, blah. They're never going to pay him that money because the UFC don't need to. The UFC do not need John Jones and they do not need Conor McGregor. Business is great when they're around, but they don't need them. Those three letters, UFC, do all of the work for them. They are having record-breaking revenues, record-breaking gates at arenas. They are worth, 9 billion or whatever the hell it was through the TKO takeover, all this stuff. They don't, and Conor hasn't fought in all that time, and John Jones has only now just fought after having, 2.5, 3 years off. The UFC don't need them. They make great money without them. So when they start coming in and saying, I want 40 million or 30 million or something like that, the UFC just go, well, no, because we're making huge amounts of money without you anyway. Why would we give you so much money? They're not going to do it. So when John Jones is saying, I want that FU money to fight Tom Aspinall, he's basically saying, well, that fight's not going to happen. Alex Pereira, though, a fighter that was, as you pointed out, recently fighting a middleweight, a fighter that at middleweight was taken down by Israel Adesanya. Yes, he's got great accolades. Yes, he's got great knockouts. Yes, he's the star of the moment, Alex Pereira. But just very obviously, John Jones is looking at that and going, I'll probably beat him in round one. As long as I take him down, I'm absolutely going to smash him. Look at what he did to Stipe in round one.
Yeah.
If he gets Alex, and Stipe is what's the word I'm looking for? He's an accomplished wrestler. Stipe's got a very good wrestling background. Look what he done to
Cyril Gane. He's a big boy, Cyril Gane, and he took him down with absolute ease.
John Jones destroys Alex Pereira. Anyone can see that if that fight happens 10 times, John Jones wins 8 or 9 of them.
I don't think that fight's going to happen.
I think it will possibly happen. But I do think if they make that happen, I think John Jones has to vacate because you can't keep doing this to Tom. I think John Jones would have to vacate the belt. And he said that. He said he's beyond belts. And that's something I would agree with John Jones on. He is beyond belts. You do not need a UFC belt strapped around anyone's waist to sell John Jones versus Alex Pereira. You don't need it. You can throw BMF on there if you want to, or invent a new belt, or if you really want to, but you absolutely don't have to. John Jones versus Alex Pereira is one of the biggest fights the UFC can put on right now, and that's it. That's all you need. Those two faces, those two names, boom. Money, money, money. Don't need a belt.
But I just don't think it's a particularly good fight. It's like, we've come off of a weekend of watching really bad matchups of, fights that shouldn't on paper happen, because we'll talk about the boxing, I'm sure, at the end. But I don't know. I think the heavyweight divisions, as I don't know what's next for Tom now, because John Jones isn't going to fight him. Stipe's retired.
It'll be the winner of Gane versus Volkov.
Yeah, and it's like, he's beat Volkov, and it's like, I suppose Gane is the only other
Gane
fight.
would be a more interesting fight, yeah.
And then what? Like, because...
But that is a problem.
No one's
we need
coming
contenders
through making a tear for it, are they? And it's like,
no, it's. I made this comparison a while ago. I think without John Jones in the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall could become the Demetrius Johnson of heavyweight. Like, he could just go around and just smoke everyone. Like, I do believe he beats Gane because of the grappling. Volkov is already beat. Pavlovich is already beat. Blades is already beat. Now we're down to 6th ranked Jailton Almeida. Sergey Spivak. Miocic is obviously retired now. Tybura he's already beat. Has he beat Spivak as well? I'm not sure, but I think he's beat Tybura, Rosenstrike, Derek Lewis, Taito Ivasa. There is not a single name on that list that I start to go, oh God, they could really give Tom problems.
And none of their fights are particularly exciting.
No, they're not. They're not exciting fights. Like, they could have fun fights. Derek Lewis is always fun. Taito Ivasa, fun, but they don't deserve title shots.
No.
Gane is the fight that you go, okay, that's the only person in the top 5 that he wouldn't have beaten.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. But if Volkov beats Gane, then you're like, well, he's got to do Volkov again.
Yeah.
It's not looking great for the future in terms of Tom having someone else opposite him, that foil, that the villain, the Joker to his Batman. There's something that he doesn't have that.
Yep.
As someone that will drive pay-per-view numbers and drive interest. It's just all people that you go, yeah, Tom should beat them. He does sort of need John Jones to put himself into a new level of stardom. And I just don't think he's going to get him.
Okay, let's talk about Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler down at 155.
I just want to make something clear before we move on, because I know we've had a bit of traction on a few posts lately, and we do get, I would say 85% of the comments we get are really lovely, well thought out, even if they don't agree. But we do get the odd people just sticking up the clown emojis and just shouting and moaning and basically almost purposefully getting the wrong end of the stick. Anyone that wants to say, but Dana said Tom's next, watch the press conference, because he's saying, I don't want to do that fight. And then the next thing he says is, well, if they both hound me, maybe I will make the fight. They're both grown men. So if John Jones and Alex Pereira say, no, that's the only fight we want, I don't want to fight Ankalaev, I don't want to fight Tom Aspinall, that's the fight we want, it'll probably get made. Later on in the press conference, he goes, yeah, but what would be the point of it? And then someone in the one of the journalists says, well, it would make a lot of money. And he goes, yeah, you're right. It would make a lot of money. And you're like, well, there you go. So he's not totally against it. I don't think it's his preference. I think his preference is Tom Aspinall. But if John Jones says, no, I'm not fighting him, or, okay, pay me $40 million, and I don't think the UFC are going to do that, then the next thing is either you say goodbye to John Jones or you get one last payday out of him and let him fight Alex Pereira. You're probably going to do that.
But surely if you're Pereira, right, and you just think, right, let's look at my next fight. It's going to be Ankalaev.
Yes.
It's going to be John Jones. Now, where's the money? And Dana White's going to be like, right, do we give Pereira another fight to keep him the light heavyweight champ and keep him away from Ankalaev and stop Ankalaev from being the champ because he's not the most crowd-thrilling fighter? So we can just leave that division where it is for a little bit, and then we give Pereira John Jones, which ultimately, I also think he's going to lose. But you lose to the greatest ever, and then that's fine. You went up to heavyweight, it didn't work out. I'll go back to light heavyweight. Hopefully by then they've done some sort of interim thing or something like that, and Ankalaev's been beaten, and then Pereira can carry on being the superstar he is. I don't know. I think Pereira's got two options, hasn't he? It's Ankalaev or John Jones. And
if you're in Team Pereira, know you're going for John Jones all day long.
Absolutely, because
you get to keep your belt. You can defend it later, and John Jones is a huge payday. And there's probably a part of you, fighters overall are slightly deluded. I think we've even spoken to fighters that admit that, most fighters are quite deluded. Yeah. He will probably be thinking, I can beat him. And I can understand it, because if the fight was on the feet for any extended period of time, he absolutely could land the left hook. Yeah. But Jones is going to Tom Aspinall was asked, what's your plan if you ever fight Pereira? He's like, I'd run across a cage and rugby tackle him within the first 3 seconds. Yeah. That will also be John Jones's plan. Yeah. And he'd destroy him pretty quickly. Yeah. So, but if you're Team Pereira, you're going for that fight because it's the money, and then you still keep the belt and you get another payday against Ankalaev and see how that goes. And it makes all sense in the world for John Jones's team, for Alex Pereira's team. Maybe it makes some sense for the UFC, especially if John Jones is flat out refusing to fight Aspinall without getting paid crazy, crazy money. But I don't know. Anyway, shall we move on?
Oliveira Chandler. It's a fun fight. I didn't think
it was a fun fight. Wasn't as good as the first fight.
No.
I was hoping it would to be even more exciting. It felt very much like a one-sided beatdown for about 21 minutes or whatever it was.
I thought Oliveira looked incredible.
He looked great. He looked way more again, I don't know whether this is Chandler being out of the cage for 2 and a bit years and maybe was just like a half step slower or not as tight and accurate as he could have been. But this is one of the best defensive performances until round 5 that we saw from Charles Oliveira. Because from Charles Oliveira's title run, we knew he was that guy that, like, he gets clipped, he dishes out punishment as well, and somehow he comes out on top. And that's how the first fight went with Michael Chandler. This one, he was way more defensively sound, picking Chandler apart. And the fact that he was able, Chandler's a very good wrestler. The fact that he took him down with ease at times and was just able to get his back, got dominate heavy on top, all of that stuff. Like, I was very, very surprised at that aspect of it and at Oliveira's defensive striking in this fight. I didn't think it would be as good as what it was. It shows an improvement. This guy's always improving.
And so I guess looking at it there, presuming Oliveira's going to get another go at the belt, right?
Well, I don't know, but I do want to talk about the 5th round just because Michael Chandler had a great moment there. Like, he was big. Michael Chandler's one of these guys that, like, again, it doesn't matter. Same with John Jones doesn't need a belt to sell pay-per-views. He's a huge star already. Michael Chandler, I don't think, like, you care whether or not he's on, like, a losing streak or not. If you see Michael Chandler there, you're like, oh, that'd be a fun fight.
Would you be saying that? Would you be sort of highlighting that if that didn't happen in the 5th round? Because up until then, I know, but I don't know. I thought he looked like a fighter that had been at the cage for a long time. But
with that logic, you would say, okay, if he fights again in 5-6 months, he's back, he's a bit more regular. So, you know, hopefully that he'll dust off any of the ring rust that might have been there on Saturday night.
Yeah.
But he's a fun fighter, Michael Chandler. The fact that he took all that punishment, was nearly finished once or twice, probably a 10-8 round somewhere in there as well. He then clipped Oliveira with that power that he's got in the 5th round. He still had that power in the 5th round. And then clipped him, got him in real trouble. Maybe made a mistake by going down to the ground with him because it allowed Oliveira to sort of recover. He should have just got him back on his feet, I think. He did that.
Was it Chandler that asked his corner to tell him what combinations?
I think it was, yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
I think it was.
And
then when Oliveira was on his back.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I'm interrupting.
No, I just thought it was good. And I liked the fact in that last round, they were basically saying, you've got to empty the tank.
Yeah.
And he did. And he, you know, he blew himself out towards the end of that round. But, you know, that's what you want. You want them little, that could have been a rocky moment. You know, you could have just dug deep in that last round and got the win. But you know, I'm glad he didn't, because I thought Oliveira was looking phenomenal, and
I thought he did. But those moments in the 5th round, in the 5th, when he was on his back and then he got up twice and just slammed him down, and just like, and he did it in the first fight as well. First fight, he did that same move. I don't know how effective that is because Oliveira didn't seem to be bothered by it at all. But it was fun.
I think at that
fun
point,
moments, and there was very Michael Chandler moments, and he was able to have a fight that was almost Nate Diaz-esque, where he goes, "I was beaten from pillar to post for most of this fight, but I had this moment at the end, and people love me for it," and that's it.
I think when he was picking him up and slamming him, he was thinking, "I'm going to put some fun shit in here for the fans because I have got my post-fight speech ready." Yeah, and. You know, he didn't look like he took a lot of damage, and I think his speech was pure WWE cheese, but that's what you want from him, and that's what you always get from him, and it was ready to go. And like you say, he delivered that speech like he just won.
He did,
and but then when people quote that speech now, and it gets shown on media things, you're not going to know that he's just had his ass kicked handed to him. You're going to think, oh, he was charged after that win. And it was like,
oh, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He done the right thing. You know, Conor McGregor, get your ass back in the gym, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, I'm sure he earned well at the weekend, but I think he still knows that Conor's a very winnable fight, and then there's money there.
Well, you say Conor's a winnable fight for Chandler. Do you think Conor McGregor looked at that fight at the weekend and went, I could smash Chandler?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes the fight maybe more possible, right?
But then that's a very, by that logic as well, in 6 months' time, Chandler fights again, he's not going to be as rusty. Whereas Conor's going to be coming out insanely rusty.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, I would love to see Michael Chandler smash Conor McGregor. I'd be well up for it. And
well, look, let's say that Dana said Conor's going to fight in late 2025.
I think he also said he's going to be fighting in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024.
No, I think he came out and said he wasn't going to fight in 2024. But I hear your point. But yeah, Conor's saying he wants to fight in like Feb or something like that. Dana's saying Conor won't fight till late Feb. Who knows where the reality actually is and if Conor will ever fight again. But let's say Conor McGregor is not coming back and Chandler has to fight someone else. What if I said to you, Paddy Pimblett?
Do you know what? I didn't expect to hear that. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Do you know what? My brain straight away went to Paddy's hands being low and getting clipped, right? And getting clipped by Michael Chandler, could be the person that knocks out Scousers. But first thing I thought of when they said Paddy was fighting Bobby Green or King, I was like, oh dear, Paddy's hands are low. He's going to be in bother against Bobby Green. Paddy does keep, proving the haters and the doubters wrong. He's moving forwards.
He's moving. I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, you could have... Oh, hang on. Paddy's not been booked to fight Moicano, has he? Or is he?
I don't think it's actually been announced.
I don't think it's been announced. I mean, it definitely is the fight that people have been talking about, and maybe that fight will happen in March, which would make a lot of sense. But
do you imagine if that was Chandler versus Paddy in London? Oh,
trying to think, 4 months' time, could Chandler be back in 4 months? I'm not sure. He did get beaten up a lot, didn't he? I don't know. Paddy versus Chandler headline in the O2 in March. I mean, that wouldn't be too shabby, would it? I mean, it's a pay-per-view fight, really, isn't it, though? Yeah, I think maybe Pimblett fights Moicano first. If he wins, then you could make the Chandler fight. But I think that makes a lot of sense. Chandler needs a big name. He's obviously not going to get Conor. He's not going to fight anyone ahead of him in the rankings. So who's he going to fight? There's Dariush, Gamrot, Fiziev, Moicano, Benoit Saint-Denis, Jalen Turner, then Paddy Pimblett. The biggest name.
None of them names are as big as Paddy Pimblett's.
They're not. And I think Chandler will probably see Paddy as a winnable fight. But I think Paddy will look at Chandler and go, that's a winnable fight for me as well.
Yeah.
And it's a chance for Paddy to get into the top 10. We've talked about him potentially fighting Beneil Dariush or people like that. Chandler's a good, and it's a huge name, and it would be a big pay-per-view kind of fight. And it makes a lot of sense. I think that could work out well.
I'm liking that, Blake Harrison.
Charles Oliveira, you saying you think he's getting a title shot next?
I think so.
I'm not sure. I think Arman Sarukian is... It's not been booked yet, but Arman Sarukian obviously beat Oliveira in their last out. So Arman Sarukian's the next guy. Islam's not the most active of champions. And there is a fighter that has beaten Charles Oliveira before, but in a different weight class that's coming up and technically has a belt. What about Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt? Oh, your face. You look like you've just eaten a Brussels sprout, mate. You look disgusted.
I don't know. Like, I know Sarukian, should be getting that
Sarukian's
shot.
getting the shot. You can't have Oliveira over Sarukian for the shot against Islam. That makes no sense.
Do I want to see Max, Charles. I
yes.
guess,
How do you not want to see that fight?
yeah, I'm just thinking who else Max could fight.
There are a few options for Max. Like Max's debut at well, it's not a debut because obviously he had the UFC 300 win, but he could fight Poirier for a third time, but I'm not sure if Poirier would want that. But BMF belt on the line makes sense. Poirier wants like 1 or 2 more fights and that's it. Dan Hooker would be a fun fight. That could be a great fight at lightweight for a BMF belt, maybe. I just think Charles Oliveira is really good fucking fight, man. And it would shove Max Holloway, if he wins, up to second in the rankings. And that could be the next fight for the champ, has to take on Max Holloway. And I think we'd all love to see Max Holloway fight for a lightweight belt.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. You know, yeah.
You're not happy about it, though, are you? I can tell you're not.
No,
you're not happy. You're not mad at it, but your face when I first said it was like I had just fed you some dog shit. So,
yeah, I didn't instantly just go, "Ooh, I have a bit of that." Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense. Like,
I think it would be a really fun fight.
Okay. Well, should we discuss Scotland's Paul Craig, who was basically, I guess, put in a bit of a gatekeeper role to the big prospect that was Bo Nickal. And I thought this fight, I think I might have said in the pre-show that I think Bo Nickal's going to stand at the strike. And that's what we got. We got a kickboxing match against an elite level wrestler and an elite level Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. And we got a kickboxing match. And I was getting a bit frustrated because I wanted more from Paul. Like, he was throwing them kicks and they were really effective, but I think he was being outstruck and outworked by Bo Nickal. I didn't think Bo Nickal looked fantastic striking, but obviously striking isn't necessarily Paul Craig's his go-to skill set. I thought his striking looked good though, Paul Craig's. I should stress that. I think a lot better than I've seen it previously. But yeah, we saw Bo Nickal get a unanimous decision over him. Did you score it that way?
Yeah, I gave the first round to Paul. I did like Bo Nickal's whole speech, like, I smashed him for 3 rounds. No, I don't agree with that. I think Paul Craig beat you in the first round. It was close, but I gave it to Paul. Second round was Bo and third round was Bo. But it wasn't like he absolutely dominated him. I do feel like, I don't know. I feel because I really like Paul as a person. Like, I really enjoyed his company. I think he's very knowledgeable, talks really well. And I love some of the moments he's given us as British MMA fans in the UFC. Has been incredible, these comeback wins and stuff like that. But I just feel like there's something about his striking. I don't know if it's a mental thing or something he can't quite work out. I don't know what it is, but you can't just spam right high kicks. It's not a computer game. It's not like it's, and that's how it felt to me. It felt like he wasn't using his hands enough, didn't engage enough. But I mean, look, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. The Paul Craig knows more about striking than I do, but I don't know. There's something that happens to Paul when he's just striking, and I don't know. Just Bo did beat him, but I don't think Bo looked good. And the fact that the whole crowd were chanting overrated, like, but look, I don't think he comes out of that fight particularly well, Bo Nickal.
No, but you know, to give him some credit, like, did he start MMA in like 2021?
He's not had many fights. He only had like 7 or 8 fights or something like that. He's not had many fights. And Paul Craig's obviously had a lot of MMA fights, but Bo Nickal is coming in with one of these unbelievable A+++ skill sets in that his wrestling he's arguably the best wrestler in the whole of the UFC, particularly in terms of freestyle wrestling accomplishments and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so good for him to get 3 rounds on the feet. Great experience for him. But I think actually that performance, I don't think it actually does much to strike fear into the rest of the division. I think if you are someone that can strike better than Paul Craig in the middleweight division, and I don't want to sound harsh, I think probably there's a lot of people in the middleweight division that strike better than Paul Craig. They can't necessarily beat Paul Craig because Paul Craig has another A++ skill set in that his jiu-jitsu so amazing.
Well,
but if you can keep a fight on the feet with Bo Nickal and you've got half decent striking, you're going to win.
yeah.
I really think he didn't look great. So, yeah. And I think the crowd showed it. I think the hype for Bo Nickal is now depleting because what he had Europe and other parts of the world going, we don't know much about wrestling. You're meant to be amazing. Come and show us. And there's been moments where you go, oh, yeah, it looks good. Could be fun.
Yeah.
But
I
then
agree.
performance like that, when a Madison Square Garden crowd are booing you and shouting overrated, that to me just depletes your hype. So I think he's come out of this worse than what he was going into it.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
Silva versus Araujo was a close fight, but it did feel like Silva did really well in the first round. Second round was close, and then third round, Silva was just exhausted, and Araujo probably could have done more, actually. Maybe could have got a finish or something. It wasn't engaging much when Silva fell on the floor. Like, I don't know, just these little tappy kicks. Goddard kept having to stand him up and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like maybe Silva could have done more, but clearly she was just exhausted. And it's a shame because she was a fighter I was quite excited about in terms of making her way up the featherweight rankings.
One of the fighters that people were talking a lot about was Mauricio Rufy, who fought James Longtrop at the weekend. I mean, that was a great fight.
That was a great fight. I was actually impressed with both of them.
Mate, Longtrop can take some fucking punishment, man. And
that guy
just kept throwing back, man.
He's going to get a contract. Like, I think did he come in at short notice, and that's why it was a catchweight fight or something like that. Like, that man, obviously he's got a contract, but if he puts in performances like that, if he just gets a win or two now and puts on fights, like, the UFC will keep him around. Yeah, because that guy can take punishment, and he still kept throwing. He kept that fight going. Showed a lot of heart. Rufy at points, I was like, oh, is he tiring? Could this go badly for him? But
the accuracy
of
his striking was fantastic.
Yeah, he is very, very skilled. He looks special, throws some wild stuff at times. I do feel like Longtrop might have won that third round, though. So is cardio an issue? I'm not sure. But it's definitely good. Called out Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm not sure he's done enough to earn that fight yet, but I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah. What other fights do you want to talk about? I'm just mindful where we're at with time. We want to touch on.
McGee looked all right against Martinez. Just that's a ranked fight in the bantamweight division. He was compromised in that last round though with the leg kicks from Martinez. But he looks so big. McGee looks huge and muscular for bantamweight. So I mean, interested to see what he does next. He's on a decent little win streak now, and he's now going to be ranked in the top 15. So let's see what he does. Jim Miller, don't be silly, jump the killie. It keeps breaking records, man. Yeah. And I know Damon Jackson retired or whatever afterwards as well, but the story is Jim Miller keeps doing it. Most fights in the UFC, most wins in the UFC. Has he most finishes as well? Like, I don't know, like everything. It just, the man is special. And he says he's on, that was maybe his 45th fight. He wants to try and get to 50. So all on the Miller train to number 50. That's what I want.
Oh, mate, we'll be seeing him in UFC 400, make no mistake.
I want to see it. I don't want to see him fighting guys that are too tough for him. Keep him fighting older guys, but it's just a nice little, it's a side mission. It's a sub story. It's, Jim Miller, can he just keep going? And he doesn't have to win all of them, but just as long as he's not fighting some absolute killers, then let's just keep this train going. I'm here 100%. For it. It's a feel-good story.
100%.
Onama versus Romero was a great fight. That was really fun fight. Back and forth in round 1, and then Anama took over and got the decision. Really good fight. And Marcin Tybura finished Denise as a corner or doctor stoppage before the 3rd round. A nasty ground and pound, just split, all cut round his head and eye. Really, really nasty. So wishing Denise a good recovery. Good with Marcin Tybura.
Can we just get to the Welsh gangster, please?
But something's gone wrong with my microphone, so you talk away about the Welsh gangster.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, fantastic. It was. We're big fans of Oban Elliott. He's such a top lad, and it was great to see Shaw MMA get a fantastic win after the loss that Jack Shaw took a couple of weeks ago. It was great to see Oban do what he does, which is just have really, really crazy fights. And then he threw an overhand right that was just on the money. And then some really aggressive hammer fists to get that stoppage. He weren't going to let that guy get up. He was like, I'm going to get the win here. You know, he'd had a word in his ear from Uncle Chow before he walked out. And then, yeah, we got the full Hogan celebration at the end. And
yes,
I love it. I think I don't know if the UFC necessarily see it massively at the moment, but I think all of the presenters and those that are in and around it can see the value in Oban Elliott, like what a dude he is, and like he's just a good guy, isn't he? And and he talks,
and it was his
really
best performance, most accomplished. It's the most comfortable he's looked inside the octagon. Like, I thought this fight might go like some of the others, where he gets clipped with something big, survives, and then his cardio and heart just pulls him through, and he gets the result. That wasn't the case. He dominated from start to finish. He was just a crisper striker, better, and hopefully we're seeing Oban Elliott just evolve and mature and get better and better and better, and just add more skills to his game. And we're seeing now that it's not just the heart and will that gets him through fights. It's his skill set. His skill set going through that fight. He was the better fighter on Saturday night. Simple as that. And it was great to see. It's great to see him win a fight without taking loads of punishment, because we love Oban and we want to see him happy and healthy and able to fight regularly. So that was great to see. I didn't catch Veronica Hardy's fight. I know she lost, but I didn't catch the fight. Did you catch it?
I didn't. No. I was I literally went and hid at the club and watched Oban Elliott on Discovery Plus on my little app on my phone. I watched that, and so I didn't get to see the Mickey Gall fight either, which was a first round KO.
I didn't see the Mickey Gall fight either.
But yeah, a loss from Veronica Hardy. So I think, I don't know. I think it's always going to be a very interesting dynamic around somebody with the second name Hardy in the UFC.
Yes.
We touched on it in the pre-show. I don't know what her contract looks like, but if that is all that's on that contract in the UFC, I don't know what them negotiations are going to look like. But I guess it helps if Mr. Hardy's your other half, and he's a serious player in the PFL. So maybe there's
we'll see
an avenue there. But Well,
look, let's talk.
You go on.
No, I was just trying to say, let's talk Tyson Paul then.
Yeah, I mean, I got in from work in the early hours and put Netflix on. I didn't find it was particularly good, Netflix. It was buffering a lot.
Right.
When I was really sort of struggling. When I got in, I got in time to watch the Katie Taylor fight. Did you watch that?
Yes, I didn't have any buffering issues whatsoever because I woke up in the morning and watched it.
Right.
So I didn't know. So I just fast forwarded straight to Taylor Serrano, watched that, and then watched Tyson Paul.
Well, yeah, I was watching it live and it was problematic.
I heard that was like one of the top trends globally was buffering.
Yeah.
Because everyone was furious about it.
what did you make of the Katie Taylor fight? Did you think it was a robbery?
No, my issue with boxing is I don't know how to score it, because in MMA, you can look up the unified scoring criteria. So if you think a judge has made a mistake, you can go through that and go either, oh, no, they haven't. They've just interpreted this way, and I understand that. Or you can go, hang on, the rules are here. You've not done it, and that's dodgy. In boxing, it seems like there isn't that. It's just whatever a judge likes is what they score highly on. And that leaves the sport very much open to corruption. And we hear regularly about decisions that people disagree with. I think with MMA, people complain about judging a lot, but it's actually nowhere near as bad as boxing, because we have the unified scoring criteria. And because even if you've scored a fight one way and someone else scored it another way, it's very rare that you objectively get people going, that is a robbery. You get fans that have gambled, and you get fans that are just, super passionate about a certain fighter. They'll shout robbery all the time because they just do. But people that are objectively trying to score the fight fairly, it's very rare that you really say robbery in MMA. But I feel like I hear boxing fans call robbery quite often.
Yeah. I thought Katie Taylor, I should also say, I think Katie Taylor is one of the greatest to ever do it. And I think she fought so well on the back foot. It felt like Serrano's shots were way more powerful.
Yes, they did.
And unfortunately, the most significant damage was done by Katie Taylor's head.
Can I mention something about that, though? Because I get the whole leading with the head thing, and it was a huge narrative throughout the fight because the corner was making a big fuss about it. The commentators sounded very biased about it all.
The commentators were shocking.
The commentators were so biased, I felt. I was watching it going, these commentators are proper. To be fair, though, it's Most Valuable Promotions or whatever it is Jake Paul's promotion. They're the ones that did this with Netflix, and Jake Paul manages Amanda Serrano. So it makes sense that they are slightly biased. Not that that's right. But for me, the whole headbutt thing was like, maybe she did do one or two kind of headbutts. Maybe that's either just how she fights. Some people calling her a dirty fighter. I don't know. I don't watch enough Katie Taylor fights to know. However, the one thing that I thought was very clear is the quote unquote headbutt where the ref took the point wasn't even a headbutt.
Yeah.
Like that one was just her moving in close. She didn't even really do anything. There was no contact there. Earlier ones, you could have maybe gone take a point, and I could have gone, oh, I can see maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't, but it's done the damage, take a point, makes sense. But the one where he actually took the point was like the least egregious of all the moments their heads even got close to each other. So I didn't quite get that as the moment to take the point away, but whatever.
Yeah, a great fight though. I thought it was a really good fight. And then we got Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Now, I think it was one of the most watched, if not the most watched boxing event ever. Which, oh my God, the thought that it was that is sad. Somebody described their hatred of Jake Paul so clearly by saying, the fact that I actually want a convicted rapist to win a fight, shows how much distaste there is for Jake Paul and this promotion. I don't necessarily, agree with that, but I think one of the things that, if we're looking at the sports people involved in it, like Mike Tyson, one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time, and we was hoping, I think, that we'd get a snippet, a little flash of vintage Tyson maybe in the first round. I think you said just throw caution to the wind that first round, just go for it, like throw everything at it. I don't think we got even a glimpse of that. I think we just got a really old man that after the second round, I was like, why have I stayed up for this? It's awful, really bad. And And it was just...
I don't think it's fair to compare like Stipe to Mike Tyson, but there was certainly similarities in the, you felt like you got one guy who's either a great or a much younger athletic guy, just sort of staring at this guy in front of them that is a shell of their former kind of glory, really, in terms of their athletic abilities. Tyson, the legs gone. Like, he didn't look like he could do much. I felt like Jake Paul carried him through, actually.
I think Jake Paul could have put him away very early on. And towards the end of the fight, he was throwing like a couple of combinations, but was just jabbing him. And it was like, even he must have just thought, this is going to be embarrassing if I knock this guy out. And
I think what would he have gained if he'd have knocked him out? If he'd have knocked Tyson out in, say, the 4th round, do you think that would have been worse for Jake Paul? Like, in terms of the fact that he would have just knocked out this old man.
Yeah.
Like, do you think actually the combat sports world would have hated him even more than they do?
I mean,
I think maybe they would have done.
Yeah, there was never going to be any winners in this fight. And look, make no mistake, like I got a lot of respect for Jake Paul, the promoter and the businessman. I think he's created a world where he's just put on the biggest boxing fight ever. And he's put himself in it, fighting, a pensioner. It's nuts that we're having these conversations that, I just hope there's plus sides that young people are now joining boxing clubs and I don't know, maybe seeing that they could make money in this misfits thing, and the YouTubers, and, if it means that they're learning to box and they're doing something good and keeping boxing moving forwards, because for me, as a lifelong boxing fan, I've definitely moved to MMA now, and I find it far more interesting, exciting, and the fact that there's so many governing bodies within boxing, and there's been such corruption over the years in it, and I just hope that if future generations are coming through and seeing, and also kids are looking at Jake Paul and just going, we can start promotions, we can start building stuff off of a YouTube channel, and it's a new world and it's a new angle to boxing, and these misfits things, I don't watch it, I'm not into it, but I think it's fun. I think if these people want to learn to box and they want to do these things, then great. And if people are excited, I mean, people vote. They've voted with their eyes and their fingers. They've clicked play and they're watching it, so they're interested.
Yeah.
And you can only give the people what they want. And so props to him for that. But Mike Tyson, the post-fight thing, like, do you want to fight my brother Logan? Just fucking stop. Like, Mike Tyson, you've ticked all the boxes, you've got all the money, like, you're set for life now. Just retire and enjoy your life, and don't put any of us through that shower of shit again, because it was awful.
Yeah, it's. I don't know that this is a conversation for today. We've already gone over an hour, and we probably need to wrap this up. But it'd be really interesting to talk to some people about the Mike Tyson stuff, because as you've pointed out, this man, and cover your ears if there's children in the room, whatever. He is a convicted rapist. Like, I want to believe in rehabilitation and that people can serve their time and get better and become like a benefit to society or whatever across a multitude of offences or whatever you that's what our society is based on, is serving your time and doing all that kind of stuff. But the fandom of him, the love that the combat sports world shows that man, it is strange given what we know. Yeah. It is weird. And the point you said, your friend or someone comment you saw about the fact that people hate Jake Paul so much that they were truly rooting for Mike Tyson. I mean, there was a part of me that was more because I think Jake Paul's in charge of this thing and he's trying to bully an old man like he's bullied smaller people before. I don't want to see the bully win. But then when you think about the details of Tyson's history, granted, it was a long time ago and he has served some time. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. It's
time.
all very weird.
He served his time, and that's how the law works. But I don't know. Do we expect him to then just go and bury his head and never be seen again, and hang his head in shame for the rest of his life? No, that's not what we got. It is weird. It is weird. And
I know it needs some kind of addressing. So some smarter people than us need to come together and go, what's going on here? Why is it that people have just forgot or don't care?
Well, I imagine a lot of the people
is
that watch this wouldn't remember Mike Tyson.
No.
You think...
Was it in the countdown special? I doubt it.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. But, all they were interested in is the highlight reel, and he was the baddest man on the planet. Yeah, I think it's not going to... That's something they're not going to want to bring to the forefront of a promotion, is it? And
no,
it should be. I did mention it, and I'm glad that you went back to it, because it is important to realise who we're watching and who that money's being spent on. And people change, people are rehabilitated, and people do their time and serve their time, and that's how it all works. But I think it's important to know that there's a dark side to lots of these people. And we've been speaking about John Jones, and he's done a lot of really terrible things, and a lot of the time it seems to just kind of let's just not talk about that. We're going to talk about this. And it's like, and if you want people to spend 20 or 40 quid on these events, you're paying for that guy. And it's like, and it's a piece of shit. And like, but yeah, I want to talk on one last thing that I've just seen come through this morning while we're talking about Jake Paul only losses to Tommy Fury, who we've just seen has been announced to fight Darren Till in January, I believe. I mean, the fight does anybody want to see that?
No, not really. I'm assuming it's a boxing match, yeah?
Yeah, from what I gather, yeah. I mean, I'm not really interested in it, but I'm not against it either. I don't have a problem with it. And I think it's very possible that the winner of that fight fights Jake Paul again. Did you see the Tony Bellew thing at the press conference?
No.
So Tony Bellew turns up at the Paul, I think it was post-fight. I think he'd got in with Paddy Power or something like that. He had a Paddy Power microphone in his hand. I just started calling out Jake Paul and said, look, get in camp, like, and then you fight my guy. And the guy next to him, he was literally brought this really elderly man in like a headband and boxing gloves. So I've got a feeling that Tony Bellew fancies a bit of this. And I don't blame him, because a fight with Jake Paul is going to be serious money. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's a really good fight. I think Tony Bellew, they'll probably fight at a very similar weight. Tony Bellew's been out the ring for a long time. He's a retired fighter, but he fought at a very high level, and he's back in shape. And I think, fight a boxer, fight a former world champion boxer. I think that...
Why would he do that, though?
Well, he's not going to. We all know that. But, like, you've got all of these boxers and all of these other... Whoever it is, just shouting throwing their names out there and trying to, spark Jake Paul's interest, which is crazy, because...
It's amazing what he's done, isn't it?
He's got the fucking purse strings. He's got the wallet,
He's one of the biggest probably paid stars in boxing at the moment. Like, there's multiple world boxing champions that wish they were on Jake Paul money.
Yeah.
And they have worked so hard and sacrificed so much to get to the level of world champion, and they are nowhere near earning Jake Paul money.
Yeah.
It's weird, but credit to... I mean, look, say what you like about him. He may not be a good human being. I don't like the way he picks opponents, but the way he's picked opponents has led to him being in this advantageous business position. So
these people can say no, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
he's not
they can.
brilliant.
They
He's
can.
not calling them out. They're coming to him.
Yeah, but again, it's that thing of like, oh, I fight at like 200 pounds or whatever he is. Who's a welterweight? Who's a 170 guy that I've got a stone and a half on?
Yeah.
That I can beat or more. So I don't know. Anyway, shall we wrap it up? They've been going for over an hour.
So we're not here next week. We should say what you need to do on your week off is head over to Fat Candy. They sponsor this show, and go and buy yourself some freeze-dried sweets and use the discount code SWEETMMA. So head over there and have a little look about. Why not buy the Pick and Mix bags? They're super cool, and you get a little cross-section of all the different sweetie treats they do, and then you can work out which ones you like the most, and then go and buy a job lot of your faves. That's over at Fat Candy. They'll be tagged in this on all the socials, and the link to Fat Candy with the discount code will be in the show notes of this episode as well. Thanks ever so much for listening. If you've not yet checked us out on YouTube, go and do that. And we'll be back in the studio for the next episode. So we're off for a week now, and then we're back. We'll be back in the studio in the new revamped, rejiggled about studio. Look forward to seeing you all and us getting back to face-to-face. I ain't seen you for ages.
I know. I miss what you look like.
Right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.